getting settled here for our live AMA on machine learning. I'll be moderating the Voice in the House for this program today. I'm Seth Mulligan from the Griffiths Institute. We welcome you here. Thank you for joining. We have 2 YouTube channels on which this is broadcasting, a panel of experts, a lot of cool topics to cover. So without further delay, we're going to get started. I want to thank all of our experts for being here today and virtually. And we will get rolling right into the program, but if we could just do a high-level name, title, a little bit of 5-second intro for all of our panelists, going right down the room, starting with Ralph and working our way in that direction. And then we'll kick it over to our first speaker, Denise, after that concludes. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, I'm Ralph Kohler from the Air Force Research Laboratory. I'm a senior advisor to the TAK program.
Hi, I'm Denise Lee. I am a part of the AFRL lab as well, and I am the SIBR program manager for the last 18 years.
Hi, I'm Christina Hewitt. I also work at AFRL. I'm a research operations analyst on the Assured Base Operations team.
Hi. I'm a computer scientist who works on
Carlos Morelos, computer scientist at AFRL. I am the TPOC under G023 for this SIBR topic.
Hi there, Lee Seversky, I'm the senior scientist for information superiority.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for those introductions. Our first item will be setting the scene with Denise Lee. Just a reminder to panelists to lean in towards your microphones and mute in, mute out. For anyone that's on the live stream, we have active monitoring of the chat channels. If you need to send in feedback or ask questions, that's the best way to submit those. And with that, I'll turn it over to Denise. Please go ahead and get us kicked off.
Thanks a lot, Seth. Really glad to be here. Thank you, everyone that has done a really great job on getting this Ask Me Anything together with the teams and so on. So again, good afternoon. My name is Denise Lee. I am the Information Director at SIBR Program Manager. We're going to talk about the Air Force 23.3 solicitation that is currently in pre-release. And one of the things that we need to remember is today is the 19th. Tomorrow, we actually open the solicitation. So all questions can be answered today. And once tomorrow happens, questions will be directed to a different site from either myself, my deputy Crystal, and or the team members. So just know that if we don't get answers to all of your questions today, they will absolutely be done at a later time. Really looking forward to hearing the discussions on the topics that are TAK related, ML. It's a great program. These guys have done phenomenal in making sure that the technology continues to grow in transition. So, we have a full agenda of speakers and, on the 3 topics, as well as a few guest speakers that we're really looking forward to hearing about as well. So one of the things that I really want everybody to focus on is the fact that, we definitely want to keep the questions based upon the technical relevance as well as any other, acquisition questions. We'll definitely have someone vetting them so that they can get to the correct person for the answer. I really have nothing more because I'll be talking later, but again, welcome and really looking forward to hearing some awesome talks as well as listening to the questions and answers. So next we have Dr. Lee Seversky up to speak about DAF info dominance importance. Dr. Seversky.
Thanks, Denise. And thank you all for attending. The Air Force is very interested in advancing the TAK ecosystem to allow us to really leverage that transformational technology such as machine learning and AI to further enhance and innovate within the ecosystem itself. So we're really looking for your creative and innovative ideas through these solicitations. Key to kind of information superiority and sharing is the ability to kind of share that information in a timely manner. And the TAK community and the ecosystem provides us that framework and that infrastructure for sharing that information and allowing the diverse communities to set up their own environments, to provide that situation awareness, and provide what each individual communities need in terms of tailored information. When it comes to machine learning applications and AI, we all understand what's required. It requires a framework for developing that software and deploying it. But it requires data, it requires sensors, it requires inputs to that environment, and it requires a community and people. So from a TAK perspective, we have the ecosystem, we have a very large user base, and we have data. What we're looking for today is your creative, innovative ideas to allow us to build those next generation AI-powered applications to take the ecosystem, to take TAK, and to innovate and bring new ideas and applications for the Air Force. So I really look forward to seeing all your great ideas. I look forward to how you can take advantage of what's already in place and then bring your new ideas, your creative ideas in terms of how we can build really the next generation application for TAK that's AI, machine learning powered, that takes advantage of the diverse and large community of users that we already have in the ecosystem. So thank you all, and look forward to seeing your ideas.
Thank you so much. At this point, we're going to transition to our next speaker, Ralph Kohler, on an overview of TAK. Just a reminder to speak loud and calmly directly into your microphones. And we are already accumulating questions online, so everyone online knows that we are queuing them up and moderating them. And we'll save them to the group discussion towards the end. So you'll see all the speaker presentations first, but don't worry, we're getting them and queuing them up. And so with that, I turn it over to Ralph.
Thanks, Seth. First of all, let me thank the Griffith Institute and the Small Business Office for hosting us today. And also, let me wish everybody a happy Talk Like a Pirate Day. I really thought of this as a series of questions. Why integrate machine learning into TAK? We did these not because machine learning has become a tsunami in the civilian world. We've been planning this for quite some time. We see there's machine learning hardware on the phones. We see that the cloud is easy to now put machine learning tools. And of course, the rise of large language models like ChatGPT are everywhere. But also, TAK owns the code for the TAK ecosystem by and large. And the new code is really data. We want to own that data too. And so if you look at the SIBRs, from a vision perspective, you see three SIBRs. One is collect, organize, disseminate, and curate the data. Then build models, and then disseminate those models and plugins using an MDM. And so what you get there is a closed loop, because we have, as Ryan said, this ecosystem of users that is substantial with about 500,000 users. If we can leverage all that data, the government can then use that data to build models, because if we don't have the data, we're not going to have the models. Parenthetically, you know, there's a large government program where the company is building models for the government, collecting data, building models, but we don't own the data, so we can't change the models without the permission of the government. If we want to have control and build the things we need for all of the users, we need to have the models, and that means we need to have the data. Another question that I have heard a bunch of times is, why leverage the tools that we're making available here if you want to use them? Of course, you don't have to use those tools. You can use whatever you want. But AFRL has been developing these tools to make data collection, organization, curating, and dissemination easier, And if you want to build on those, they're available because the government will get a better tool in the end. And they're also targeted at the Air Force mission space, and the government has unlimited rights to those tools. Why integrate with the TAK Product Center? Well, the first answer is they're the biggest, best game in downtown for TAK. They have a governance body to decide how data gets shared and what gets shared. They're centralized, and they can do the distribution of the models. But if you want to pick your own transition partner, go ahead. There are others out there. What type of data? It turns out pretty much everything. Everything that goes through the TAKServer, all the sensors, you can use those for command and control, geolocation, touch interactions for training and predictive interface, voice and sound. You can use for remote geolocation and environmental cues. You can also bring in video and imagery and other additional data. And if you think about how large language models work and how they could integrate with TAK, there's a huge potential there, especially when you also integrate voice, which we're doing under another program. So I anticipate in 3 years, most people will have the option to talk to TAK, and if you can talk to that large language model, there's a lot of great things you can do. Let me also say that I hope we're going to do another February TAKathon event targeted at machine learning. And my caveats are, you don't have to do anything I just said. You don't have to transition to TPC. You don't have to work with the proposers from other topics. We put these 3 topics together, but honestly, it didn't occur to us until we were asked whether one company could win all 3. That was not our intent, and you don't have to work with the other companies. That's entirely up to you. And follow the solicitation, not whatever we say here. And I'm not reviewing proposals, so you don't have to please me. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ralph, for those comments. Again, I encourage anyone in the live chat to keep recording in your questions. We are curating them, and we'll have them at the end. At this point in our program, we are going to try something a little different here. We're going to patch in a live video feed with Ryan McLean. If for some reason that goes south, we have some pre-recorded video segments we can use as well.
Hey, com check on that end.
I'm queuing my AV team to get ready to cut over to Ryan. We'll hear from him in just a moment. Thank you.
All right, audio Ryan's here. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Ryan. Sounds like you're good to go. Thanks.
You're good to go,
Actually,
Ryan.
One of my panelists just lean in and tell
Awesome.
Ryan
Hey,
we can hear him.
Ryan McLean here. One more audio check before I start talking. Got me?
We can hear you, Ryan.
We can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. Hey, Ryan McLean here. I am the director of the TAK Product Center. You'll notice I'm not in my usual regalia. I'm on reserve duty today. So pardon the less.
Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, you hit your mute button.
Okay, so Ryan came in and his audio dropped in and out. We're going to just move one segment down and then return to that while they look to fix that situation. So pivoting forward, we'll get Ryan back on in just a moment, but we're going to move to David Canestrari, who has some comments on TAK relevance and some other overview information. I know it's out of sequence. Was he ready? There he is. Excellent. Take it away, please.
All right. Hey, folks. Dave Canestraro, Program Manager of AFRL's Assured Base Operations Program. There are over 180 installations, Air Force installations across the globe, each with its own mission set. Now imagine you're the commander of one of those 180-plus installations. You're responsible for your duty, your role, your responsibilities for the Air Force. But in addition, you're also responsible for keeping those on your installation safe and secure. What the Assured Base Operations team is doing is developing, prototyping, and transitioning technology to make force protection, that is how an installation protects its base, easier, automated, and from an end user and leadership perspective, easier to respond to things, events on base that influence the security posture of the base. So a component of the Assured Base Operations program is making sure that the technologies the force protection community uses are connected, are digitized, and require as little input from the end user as possible, allowing them as much heads-up time, that is, ensuring that they have situational awareness of the event or the situations they're responding to, and less time on their computer screen or their Android display. So one of the key pieces of technology the ABO team is using to automate force protection or make their job easier is Android Tactical Assault Kit and the TAK ecosystem. So these three SIBR topics fall under the ABO program, and I'm excited to see what's proposed here from a machine learning perspective, as I see that as a key ingredient in automating force protection and making force protection's job easier at each installation. So I'm excited to see what comes of these three topics. I'm excited to see how the TAK community grows because of it, not just for force protection, but these use cases are, I mentioned force protection quite a few times, but the use cases overlap with many other career fields, mission sets, and operational user requirements. So yeah, can't say how excited I am to see what's developed here. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Very much appreciated. At this point, we're going to kick back to Ryan. If he hears us, or as Ralph is texting with him, he'll get ready to unmute, and we'll just flip-flop one segment so everyone understands on the panel. We just move one segment. We'll return then to our regular order. At this point, we will cut over to Ryan McLean from the TAK Product Center.
Second try on that end.
Good to go.
Okay. Well, I don't know exactly where the audio cut off. I'm told it was at the beginning. So at the TAK Product Center, we really, our users focus on how they use the TAK products. We're not doing work on the back end of the products to figure out how and why and where they can be made better through data. In other words, our strategy for improving the products is very uninformed by the data that the products generate. Any good commercial implementation of technology is going to make good use of the data that commercial implementation generates. So that's where we're focused. Can we aggregate the data? Can we train new models and validate them, which seems to be a really hard thing for us to accomplish in government? Can we validate models such that we know they're effective in what they're tasked to do? And then can we deploy these models so that they can achieve some functions? So you'll notice now that any of our focus is not on specific domains. It's not on doing specific tasks better. It's on the feedback loop from the tactical edge, where TAK devices are employed, to the TAK Product Center, and where these models will be generated, will be validated and then where they'll deploy from. Now, there are 4 enabling themes that I want to highlight that I think are going to make this SIBR topic, this collection of SIBR topics, an outstanding candidate for future success and ultimately technology transition to production. The first thing that we need to concern ourselves with is the fact that TAK.gov is going to be the authoritative source for open source. What I mean by that is, if you've ever used the TAK products, the TAK open source repository, you know that it's 2 things. It's on GitHub and not git.tak.gov, which is GitLab based. So we host that in the public domain on GitHub. And we also host it in 2 different projects. There's a pain point there, and it's that GitHub Actions and GitLab CI are very different worlds when you get down to the nuts and bolts of how the TAK products are built. And we're doing a lot of work right now this fall with bringing the TAK.gov products, specifically ATAK and TAKServer source code, into open source on git.tak.gov. That's going to be immensely helpful. Pain point today is that the versions lag behind on GitHub, and we're going to fast forward the whole world up to the current version with us, where we can reasonably expect that any source code you'll see on git.tak.gov in the open source repositories is going to be the authoritative current source version of ATAK or TAKServer, or in the future other TAK products as we open source more. So our open source code, doing that well, we're solving that problem right now. The next thing that we care about here is our strategy, our TAK 2030 strategy. You can find that strategy on tak.gov at tak.gov/pages/TAK 2030. And what that strategy outlines is where we're going with TAK. So there are 4 pillars, but the execution themes are what you should care about, and specifically themes number 4 and 5, data and artificial intelligence and measurement. Those 2 themes go hand in hand when we talk about data or machine learning or AI or ML ops, which is what we're really targeting here with this feedback cycle. And so take a look at our strategy. It's not very long. It's only 4 pages. You're going to get a sense of why we're going the direction we're going and why these SIBRs matter to the overall strategic footprint of TAK, not just for TAK Product Center, but for the 300,000 plus users across the Department of Defense and the broader U.S. government. For getting there, and these topics are going to help us get there. The second thing that we should be concerned with is, or the third thing rather, is how these SIBR topics ultimately manifest a successful transition. Technology transition is a key aspect of the SIBR program writ large for the U.S. government. How do we take a novel technology or a novel application of technology and make it scalable, make it matter to the whole customer base, which is, in our case, is the entire TAK user base? Well, we're doing a big rollout right now where we've done all the engineering work on the backside of implementation, where TAK platform, where we host all of our project management tools, our documentation, the source code, and specifically the continuous integration that we provide for the community for TAK. We're migrating all of that to a DoD DevSecOps Reference Design 2.0 compliant implementation. That's going to be that migration is going to be happening over the next few months. What that means is that you're going to be targeting any sort of a microservice implementation that's going to live on the back end of a platform. You're going to need to target DoD Iron Bank as the container registry for the artifacts that you provide. So target a microservice-based architecture from the beginning, and include in your GFE needs access to Iron Bank and the credentials and the time required to publish effectively as one of your outputs from the SIBR. That's going to make tech transition, regardless of whether there are license costs and what on the back end. All that is fine, but you're going to need to target a hardened container image artifact or set of artifacts so that you can live on in our production environment post-transition or post-SIBR execution. The fourth thing that we need to worry about, we need to concern ourselves with, is how we're evolving configuration management for TAKServer. For a long time, and including today, configuration management for plugins that live on TAKServer, which is going to be a core aspect of how we aggregate data at the that's going to get a lot better as well. We've not focused extensively on good rock-solid package management, which is how these plugins for TAKServer exist. As you get more comfortable with the TAKServer architecture, understand that there are effectively two tiers to where data needs to be aggregated. One is out there at the tactical edge, whether that is how we deploy the models or aggregate the data. TAKServers live at the units where ATAK and WinTAK and the other TAK products are deployed. So when you're thinking about how to propagate data back up, understand that most operational data, participant location information, breadcrumbs, things that have happened at the tactical edge, that's going to need to stay out at the edge. But as you unpack your own strategy to address our topics here, or our strategy at the TAK Product Center and the AFRL SIBR topics, you're also going to need to address how data is bubbled up from TAKServer to TAK platform. Not all data should leave TAKServer. In fact, very little of the data. We're really going to be compared about propagating data, telemetry type data from TAKServer back to TAK platform. So there's going to be a multi-tier approach here to data aggregation and what data we care about on TAK platform versus what data matters closer to the tactical edge on that TAKServer that lives at tactical operational units. Those are all my comments. Again, three main themes to this: the data aggregation, the model training and validation, and the model deployment. And then 4 themes that we concern ourselves with on the TAK Product Center side that hopefully give a lot of lift to these efforts. The TAK 2030 strategy, and specifically our emphasis on data and artificial intelligence. Our evolution of open source and how we're making great strides there that will enable these topics to succeed. Your technology transition strategy being centered on the DoD DevSecOps reference design and specifically how you get to things that we can facilitate on the government side, but are going to require engineering effort on your side as the proposer. And then fourth and finally, how we're improving configuration management at the tactical edge through TAKServer and the WebTAK product as well. Those are my comments. We're thrilled to see these come to light. There's been a lot of hard work on the part of AFRL to make these topics happen, and we're really grateful for this partnership. We can't wait to see the proposals that come forth, and please feel free to reach out to us at the TAK Product Center, support@tak.gov. That's SUPPORT at TAK.gov. We'll be happy to answer questions, and certainly we'll be looking for good opportunities to endorse your proposals as you move forward in that process. Ryan McLean, out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate that very much. Just a status check. We're about halfway through our panel topics. We are on track time-wise. It looks like we'll be getting to Q&A in approximately 1400. With that switch of Ryan and David, we're now going to move to our next topic speaker. Harry, if you're ready, you can get ready at the microphone, and we'll look to bring up, I think you have a supporting slide at some point here, and we'll make sure that's all syncing to the stream. Just one more reminder, keep your questions coming in through the YouTube chats on both channels. They are being moderated and aggregated so that the teams can answer your questions. And with that, let's move over to Harry.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm Harry Hartenstein. I'm a computer scientist at AFRL. I'm going to introduce a few tools that we've developed in-house that we feel can contribute to this effort with TAK. Namely, those are the Mystic Toolkit, Streamlined ML ecosystem, and the NoML data management knowledge graph. If you go to the next slide. All right, I have the next slide. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to start with the Mystic Toolkit. So this is stands for the Model Integration Software Toolkit. It's a Python framework. It's a very lightweight framework, and this is our solution that we've been using to integrate the diversity of machine learning models throughout the years as they evolve. You know, one toolkit gets popular, then it gets obsolete, the next one gets popular. With this lightweight framework, you can bring any of those toolkits into one ecosystem and have them interoperate and be reusable and shareable as things evolve. So the kind of philosophy was that we don't want to get tied down to any particular implementation or ecosystem. So the way it works is it's a state machine that you integrate alongside your existing implementation of a machine learning model. And by implementing that state machine, you can talk to it and have a common expectation of how that model can be trained or evaluated, like pause the training, resume the training, and using that toolkit, we put it inside a streamlined ML ecosystem. So that ecosystem is natively designed to talk to Mystic containers. So you plug your model into the Mystic framework, put that container into the streamlined ML ecosystem, and then anyone can pull it down and interact with that model without having to do all of the groundwork to get their local system running that model. And within the streamlined ML ecosystem, we've also implemented standard evaluation metrics so that all of those models can be compared on the same baseline, and you can help the end user evaluate what is the best model for that task. So the streamlined ML ecosystem also orchestrates running those models. So there's a kind of a point-and-click interface or a command line interface where Kubernetes on the back end can spin up those models using the Mystic state machine and then launch it for either streaming prediction or training, etc. So those are a couple tools that we've been using on the government side in both field exercises and demonstrations in the lab. And then for the data side of that, we have the NoML system. So NoML is based around a knowledge graph ontology that takes kind of along the same lines. There's a wide variety of formats that data sets are saved in, all kinds of JSON, MATLAB, unique folder structures when you get a zip file. So all of these variety of formats, we want to find a common standard. So we've developed an ontology based on a lot of open source academic data sets. We've coalesced those into one ontology and created some tools to be able to import those common formats into this ontology. So we can get them into one standard format, push them into a RDF knowledge graph, and then when they're in a knowledge graph, we can overlay more reasoning or more analytics to help understand what we have in that data. And if we have a specific task that we need to use that data for, we can specifically query just for that data at that time and not have to manually parse through a lot of scripts or customize the Python code. So once it's in a knowledge graph, we can basically exploit it, and we have a visual interface as well, so we can view imagery data set that we have in there. Our main demonstration use case so far has been object recognition data sets. So we have like a visual browser to browse through what's in the knowledge graph, kind of slice and dice it into a custom data set. So we have like 5 different data sets. We can kind of slice across if we want just a couple classes from all those data sets, slice them into one new data set, and use that as our new training set. And we've also made connectors into that streamlined ML ecosystem. So we can slice that custom data set, push it into the streamlined ML ecosystem. So now it's a streamlined data set. And we can, out of the box, now run that data set across all the models that we have in the streamlined ML ecosystem using that Mystic toolkit. And it's worked out very well for us in making that process much smoother. So yeah, overall, the NoML toolkit, it was developed in-house. It's less mature than the streamlined ML ecosystem, but we do have a Python API for it, and some examples of using it in a Streamlit GUI and also the open source 51 object detection tool. So I think that's it for me.
Thank you. We are continuing with our Ask Me Anything. We have presentations from our subject matter experts, and we'll move to questions around 1400. This Ask Me Anything is focusing on machine learning and emerging technologies that are hosted here at the AFRL RI, the Information Directorate, as well as some open SIBR topics. Thank you for joining our stream. Keep the questions coming. We appreciate all the feedback. We have now increased more audio resources. And with that, we're ready to move to our next topic speaker, Carlos.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
Carlos
bring that in
Morelos,
nice,
the
thank you.
TPOC for topic D023, TAK Mobile Machine Learning MML Model Development. The objective of this topic is to develop and train cutting-edge machine learning models for edge deployment via TAK using the Mobile Integrated Software Toolkit, MISTIC, format that was just described by Harry. So if I direct you to the SIBR.gov description, I'm not going to read it. You guys can hopefully read it at your own leisure. Just some highlights of wanting to note that leveraging TAK-ML and Streamline to integrate the TAK ecosystem is strongly preferred, but not required for submission. So with that being said, hopefully you do take advantage of some of these other tools that have been developed to focus more on the actual machine learning model development. Understandably, if you decide to go a different route, that will just take cycles out of actual R&D development for machine learning. So it is your prerogative to submit whatever you think might have the greatest chance of being awarded, but just to note that. As well as some of the sample model and algorithms that were described in the description are just examples, so we do not have a preference on the type of problem or data set you use. I know that it was mentioned geolocation, command and control, search and rescue, surveillance, and comms. You need not submit one of those topics if you don't choose to. Your chances would not decrease if you choose a different topic. And with that, I will probably turn it over to the next speaker, and I'll be part of the AMA at the end, where I will answer some of your specific questions you may have. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Carlos. Next up is Christina Hewitt. Please begin your comments when you're ready. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me? Are we good? I have the worst, I have like the worst luck with mics. I apologize.
That's good. Nice and close. Good.
Yeah, can you hear me now? My apologies. So I'm speaking on topic number D024, integration of machine learning platforms with mobile device manager for the TAK ecosystem. So pretty much what's happening here is the overall objective is to integrate an MDM with machine learning models, which is currently a capability that we don't have within the TAK ecosystem right now. And that's the primary goal, right? So with that, we're kind of looking, when I see an MDM, we have like a marketplace, right? And then you have an app. So it's sounding like we're just trying to create a secure and reliable environment using ML. So that's the overall of what we're looking at for this topic. And I know we're going to have plenty of room for questions at the end, so I'm not going to get too far into it after that. And thank you for the introduction, by the way, Seth. So you could pass it off.
Okay, very good. We're coming down to a couple more speakers, and we'll get to our live questions. Just a reminder, we're recording and keeping track of all questions. If a certain format of question or the duration in which we can answer won't be able to be taken on a live in the stream, we will reply back and get answers to everyone. So it is important that you keep those documented, ask clear, concise questions in the chats, and we will make sure that those get answered one way or another. Our next speaker is David Costello. Just lean into your mic, and when you're ready to begin, we'd love to welcome your remarks.
Thanks. So I'm the TPOC on the third and final topic. I don't want to repeat Ralph and Ryan too much, but as they covered very well, there's a wealth of data in the TAK ecosystem that is currently being underutilized or not leveraged whatsoever for machine learning, whether that be data that's collected from the edge devices themselves, like inertials or magnetometer, barometer, the wealth of sensors that are available, or usage data, positional data, patterns of data moving across the TAK network, data more at the operational or squadron or wing level. Currently, a lot of that is not being collected at all, or is being utilized in a very stovepiped way. So I think the most succinct way to describe topic 25 is to sort of sketch out the state of the practice. Right now, say you have an alt-PNT technology that is collecting inertial data to extrapolate your position without GPS. A company or performer might collect that data for their particular use case, and then it gets aggregated into a SQL file and stored on someone's hard drive. And the question becomes, then what? How does that data contribute to the whole of the TAK ecosystem, if at all? How can somebody else come in and understand that data or reason over it or create some derived product later? So that's the problem we're trying to solve. We have made a substantial investment into technologies at AFRL to help solve these problems, both with general machine learning lifecycle management capabilities like Harry covered, but also for TAK-specific software, namely ATAK-Mil, for making it easier to train, evaluate, and deploy models in TAK. So these technologies will be made available either as open source or as GFE in the topics, but they don't provide a cohesive end-to-end solution. They're either not first-class citizens of TAK, or they're not joined together in any concrete way. So that's really what we're getting at with the three topics here, is how do we improve that picture? How do we take the state of the practice more into the state of the art in the machine learning community? And how do we really leverage ML in the TAK ecosystem?
Thank you so much. Those are our technical conclusion questions. We're going to move now a little bit to some of the process and overall guidance on SBIR rules from Denise Lee. Please take it away. Thank you, Denise.
Thanks, Seth. Okay, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Ryan for taking time out of his schedule to get on and talk about the real importance of what we all are doing. So really appreciate that, and I absolutely appreciate all of the speakers today. But there are some important things that we have to understand when it comes to SIBR sitter. For instance, today is the last day for pre-release. So that means questions and answers can be answered today. If anything is any question is asked after today, they will actually be directed to the CITES site, which is the located on the DSIP site, for answers to be back out to the technical points of contact at that time. So any questions that come, they'll direct them to me. From there, Crystal and I will move them over to those sites and get your answers prior to the end of the proposal deadline. So tomorrow starts the open time for proposals. So questions and answers, I can't emphasize that enough, cannot be answered at that point until it is officially sent through myself and the CITES team from there. Today, what you'll learn is when asking your questions, they can be technical, they cannot be directed on how you as a company or as an answer none of the technical folks can direct you on what to do to solve the problem, to find the solution, or any of that particular area. We can answer questions that are related to the topics that make sure they're directed in the respect of just technical, acquisition, and so on. But none of them can give you the direction on whether you should or shouldn't propose, on what the answer to the solution is, right? So if there's a need, you know, they can give you a broad, but they can't give you a direct. They can't tell you to propose. They can't tell you not to propose. So just be aware of those rules. And from there, I believe we have a lot of questions that have currently come in. We do have them being vetted. And one of the things that is the most interesting is whatever is asked today will get answered. It may not be answered here, but it will be answered within the next, hopefully, week or so. So just be aware of that. So if we don't get to your question, please don't panic. We'll get there. So again, thanks everyone for making this such a great, successful event. To the GI team, you know, appreciate that. To the TAK team, again, you guys have been a very, you know, big builder of the SIBR Sitter program, and really appreciate that, you know, we can all work as a team moving forward. So on to that, Seth, I think we can start the Q&A, and you can give it all you
Excellent.
got.
Excellent. Thank you, Denise. Yeah, so at this point, we're going to start to review the questions we have that have come in through our live stream. Just so you all know, this will be a bit of round robin style. We have 6 speaker positions, but you may see us swap in and out so we can get the right expert in on the microphone for you. So with that, I'm going to run these in chronological order in which we saw them today. I will acknowledge that we have one question that we intend to answer sidebar. That's to Sarah Freeman Marchetto. Just so you know about your DSIP question, we will answer that more directly. But let's start from the top. Some questions were directed towards speakers, so I may identify you specifically to lead the answer, but feel free to call on your colleagues. This first question is a little bit more broad, and we're seeking if anyone can help us understand how or what is the digital engineering as a practice.
Yeah, I can speak to that one. Digital engineering is kind of a term of art for a set of best practices for software development in the DoD. Basically, it describes concepts like establishing an authoritative source of truth, creating digital twins, and leveraging modeling and simulation to make sure that the technologies you're developing at every stage in the pipeline actually translate well to operational solutions. So if you do a web search for digital engineering in the DoD, you'll find all sorts of good resources for how to make sure you're leveraging those practices. Look out for guides written by any of the big defense contractors because they understand it really well.
Thank you. Our second question, what is meant by phase 1 effort or a proof of concept?
That's a Denise question. So phase 1, proof of concept. So what that means is like an actual feasibility study. So it's pretty much a report that you work with the team to end up seeing where you follow to that 12-month period of performance in the phase 1. So it literally, you have a proof of concept. So it's a feasibility study that shows that you have taken the topic and what the requirements were, and you've gotten to that point to be able to move on to a phase 2. If you want further like language, I would be more than happy to get that out to you. But really, it's just a feasibility study that shows you the report at the end of the period of performance on the topic that you are working on.
Thank you, Denise. Our next question, what about classification/dissemination? Classification/dissemination. Any details you can elaborate there? Thank you.
I think that one's most applicable to my topic. Basically, submitters to 25 should be aware that certain operational users will have restrictions on the dissemination of the data that is produced by their organization, where that data can travel, whose hands it can be in. And Ryan McLean from the Product Center got into this as well, that it might not make sense to offload all operational data from the edge back to some sort of central data clearinghouse. So that's a key consideration for an effective solution to 25's problem, is considering, what makes sense for where data to live, where it can go, and what should be moved and how.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We're moving to our fourth question here, so everyone is following along. We have about 16 so far identified. We're into the fourth one of that. Please keep those coming through the chats as needed. This question is a little bit more broad. I think most panelists might have an opportunity to help out on this, but it's, are there any particular features that the U.S. Air Force has special interest in processing?
Yeah, so we wrote our topics pretty general on purpose, because we are looking at overhauling the how of machine learning rather than particular use cases. So as Carlos alluded to, we're not placing any favoritism on one sort of feature or use case or operational niche over others. I will say that for my topic, if there's a particular type of data that you're interested in, through our other projects, we have leads on a whole bunch of different modalities of data, and we'll do what we can to make sure that that's available to you so you have real operational data to help you develop.
Seth, I'm going to add to that as well. So one of the things that I think everyone needs to understand is that when these topics are written in a broad arena, the reason is because you have to be fair and equal to all that are proposing. So just understand that as well. The opportunities and the equality across the board for all. There's no favoritism. There's none of that. So when we say broad topic, that's so that everybody can play, and hopefully there's something that comes out of it.
Your topic, section D025. So let's tackle those one by one, and if others need to join in, please just do so. But these were flagged as most pertinent to your topic. Question, first one for you then, is the objective calls out developing and training ML models, but the description calls out various toolkits for integrating ML models into the TAK ecosystem. Are you looking for additional infrastructure to support the operationalization of those existing ML technologies? If you need that repeated, I'll try.
No, I think I got that one. So what you may have noticed when the topics were first posted, the fields on the SIBR website were mixed up. So it sounds like part of that question may have been more directed towards 23 than 25. So just a general note, please, please, please make sure before you submit anything that you have pulled down the most recent information from the SIBR portal and that you're submitting to the right topic. So the question was, are there existing ML models that we hope to leverage? For Carlos's topic, no, that topic is looking for the development of new models. And there was also, part of that was looking at whether performers should be leveraging the existing toolkits that we've been discussing. No, you're under no obligation to do so. We're making those available because we think it will help provide a head start for the topics. It's a big problem to solve, especially within the scope of a single effort. So our reasoning there is we want to make available to performers the investment and the the resources and the expertise that AFRL has already put into solving this problem, so that we might get even further with the scope of this effort. But if you have your own technologies or a radically different idea, you're not under any obligation to use what we're making available. So have at it.
Yes, and to add to that topic, I think we were limited on the amount of references we could add to these separate topics. So under mine, number 23, there's about 4 or 5 different topics for the Mystic, GitHub, and different APIs. But if you do a Google search, there's a Reddit for TAK. So there's plenty of other resources out there for you to leverage. And also the example models that were described in there are also online, the biometrics and edible plants.
We appreciate the insights. Thank you, gentlemen. The next topic, again, possibly for you, David, the topics mention, this is again the 025 one, mentions that node drop would be provided to performers, but the node drop paper does not link to any source code. Does the government have a reference implementation of node drop that they intend to share with performers?
Yeah. Again, so that's topic 23. Node drop is referenced in topic 23, not 25. So maybe it's because you're shooting 3 of them from the same person. So node drop is given as an example framework as a way we can improve efficiency. So the question was, are we providing a government node drop? The answer is no on that. Again, just putting an example out there, because although it is broad, if we made it truly broad with no examples, we'd get more questions. So most of these are just as a starting point so you guys can get an idea of what's out there.
Similarly, the next question is around data sets. Would those also, is there any intended data sets to be provided to performers?
Yeah, so I got at this a bit, but we have a variety of other efforts for ML in TAK on the applied side. So in cases where that data would be useful, we fully intend to make that available. We've been collecting, for example, and just an example, you're not restricted to these, but we've been collecting GNSS data from smartphones that might be of interest, also inertial accelerometer data. So yeah, depending on the modality of the submission, we hope to make data available so that you have operational examples to work with.
Yes, and to add to that for the machine learning topic, so it is not our intention to provide data sets for a specific problem because it is broad. There's pretty much standard in the industry on the preference for types of data. And that preference, starting from top to bottom, is realistic, real-life operational data. So following those best practices, that is what's preferred in the industry, and secondary to that is synthesized data based on a smaller subset of realistic data that kind of interpolate some of the underlying patterns of realistic data, and then the third is completely synthesized, not based on any actual real data. So that is my response for data sets.
All right, thank you. This one may be for you, Carlos. Again, all panelists who have inputs, I encourage you to jump in, but it specifically flags what might some of the inputs or machine learning features be to the models that you've mentioned. For example, might a geolocation model include things like landmarks and images?
Yes. So, for example, a geolocation model might include those things. It really is dependent on the problem you're attacking, what inputs should be there, and what inputs make sense, as well as what data you have available for that problem. So, it is up to each performer whether they have data and are searching for a problem, or they have a problem and are searching for the relevant data to support a model being developed to solve it.
It appears we may have a similar modeling question. For example, models like surveillance, what types of outputs or classifications might be expected, i.e., surveillance could include images of equipment to detect some impending action or event.
Yeah, so again, that is really determined by the problem you are trying to solve in the model development process. So ideally, you would have a transitional partner that you have in mind of a specific, because my topic is specifically about operation on the edge, it would be ideal to have a problem in mind that you are trying to solve, and based on that, the answer would become apparent. So if you're supporting, for the example given, surveillance, and you're supporting a CBRN team, well then maybe an unidentified box might be of relevance, and that might be an output, a bounding box over a suspicious area in an image. But if you are supporting force protection and you are just classifying cars as they come through the gate, then maybe just license plate bordering might be sufficient.
Excellent. We are on question 10. We have accumulated a few more. We're at about 21, so we're making our way through. Thank you, everyone. This next question, for the recent TAK machine learning SIBR, is there a requirement for processing to take place on device at the tactical edge, or can cloud compute be implemented?
All right, I'll go ahead and answer it, and then I'll let my coworkers answer as well. So it need not be completely employed on the edge. The objective and description does mention edge deployment, so there must be at least part of it. Understandably, training on a mobile device or in the field is unfeasible at the time given the current limitations in technology. So training on the server side is a very realistic expectation for submission, but running on the edge is preferred.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit more clear-cut for 24 and 25 that these are tools we're anticipating would be of more use to someone maybe at the unit level or a machine learning practitioner, in which case it would make more sense to be server side or a step or two removed from the edge. But I would just encourage everyone to read the solicitations wording for what we're looking for there, and edge and server side are in scope for 24 and 25.
Okay, thank you. Next question. If we have tooling to perform the required data collection, staging, and knowledge graphing in a different area, such as not on TAK, but a proposed method is ecosystem agnostic, would that meet the direct to phase 2 requirements?
So one of the things that you need to understand is when you are proposing to a topic that has the objective, description, and so on, you have to pay attention to the fact that when the proposal comes in, the experts are going to evaluate that on, does it meet the requirement of the topic? So you may have a great idea, you may have a solution, but does it fit that topic? So the expectation is, of the experts to know whether or not it could be worked into it or not worked into it. But it's on them to make sure that they do their due diligence and, offer, opportunities if there is on the other side. But that's strictly up to them. And a lot of times they will reach out to our office and, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. But for the most part, it's on the experts that wrote the topic and are working the actual technology to decide whether or not that fits.
Yeah, and I think the question might have also been asking, if they have an established technology, does that count for the phase 1 feasibility study for direct to phase 2?
So that's a hard one, because when you look at a direct to phase 2, you actually have had to have gone through the phase 1, phase 2, and have it probably would define and say yes. I would say yes, it does meet it. But again, that's, something that when you propose to that direct to phase 2, once again, I think that has to be the part where we, have to look at that and say yes or no, if it actually does fit that particular requirements.
And I guess to add to that note, if your already established solution is truly platform agnostic or ecosystem agnostic, then it shouldn't be difficult to make the case to incorporate it into the ecosystems we're referencing.
And I think on that too, thanks Carlos and David, I think also too, when you're looking at the feasibility and the phase 2, which is right to go into a direct to phase 2 automatically, you have to make sure you're a definite. Direct to phase 2s don't require customer memorandums or MOUs when it comes to a specific topic, which is what these folks have written. They're not open topics through AFWorks. This is a BAA that is specific to the needs and requirements that they have. So understand, it's great when you're proposing to a direct to phase 2 that you've already had that opportunity to have that foundation, the possible partnership down the line. Because we definitely want to make sure that if you're proposing to a direct to phase 2, you have the opportunity to really move and transition or transfer that down the line. So having partners and end users and things like that is an awesome thing. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. What sorts of hardware acceleration are available for the model to execute on? Related, for example, could you fit an entire pre-trained LLM, large language model, on the edge, or would that require a larger deployment?
Yeah, so I'm not. That kind of could be related to multiple topics. So I'll take first stab at that one. So there's a lot of points that were made in that question, but part of the objective for this is transferring those models on the edge. And although a naive approach of just copying a model that runs on a desktop onto a device can be done efficiency-wise, that's not the best use of the resources, the very limited resources on an edge device. So to it, node drop was mentioned to drop the size of the model when employing it on the edge, but that doesn't preclude other solutions where auxiliary equipment might be on the edge, but what you have to keep in mind, it is an edge deployment, so it is unrealistic to ask someone in the field to carry a desktop and start running it just so you can maintain your 99% accuracy.
And I'll just add, if whoever asked that question or anyone else in the community is unaware, a good device to target for TAK deployments are the Tactical Edition smartphones by Samsung, the next round of which are going to be the Galaxy S23 and the Xcover 6 Pro. Those are pretty modern smartphones with relatively recent Qualcomm chipsets that have some machine learning accelerator hardware. Some deployments will have external compute on the edge, but if you're just looking for a good baseline for a device to target, then late model Samsungs, especially the Tactical Edition, are a good baseline.
Okay. little bit similar. This one also talks about hardware at the edge. Iron Bank is a huge Docker container. Are there concerns about prohibiting putting solutions on hardware at the tactical edge?
Yes, there are concerns about that, which is why these topics were created. So Iron Bank was mentioned a few times, especially by Ryan McLean. So there are different ways you can attack this problem, which I've been directed not to give direction, but there's plenty of academic literature and state of the practice to accelerate some of these larger models on the edge somewhat.
Carlos, thank you for listening.
Appreciate that. This one might be for David. It's flagged with your solicitation number, but that might allow others to also join in, please. Do you see an opportunity to extend TAK-Server and flow that data available into a data lake so that open source tools can seamlessly be used for AI or ML training and execution?
Okay, so I can't, as per Denise, I can't comment on particular proposed solutions, but I would say that that is in scope for the topic.
Thank you. This one appears to be directed to you, Kat. That's Christina Hewitt, if you're reading the actual title bar below. Pardon for me that distraction. By the way, that's a lovely water bottle. Thank you. Okay, so if not connected to a central MDM, should a proposed solution operate in a decentralized network?
Yeah, I was gonna. No, I'm good with not taking it, but I know poor Kat has stepped in so kindly to help out today. So it's either Dave Canistrer or Dave Costello, whichever one wants to answer that.
It seems the intent of the question was on 24, by the way. That helps.
I think I'll just repeat my last answer that we really can't comment on particular solutions, but decentralized or centralized are both within the wording of the topic and fair game.
Just keep the idea of the topic within scope. If you did one or the other and they didn't seamlessly work together, does that provide an end user with a new capability? So I think the I can't give direction as well as per Denise and the server process, but I think that's just something to keep in mind when you're formulating a solution and thinking edge versus connected.
Thank you, team. Next, it was identified perhaps for 23. Can data aggregation to TAK platform requirements be decoupled from the model building or training or model validation within the proposal of D23?
Yeah, I think they are really, because 23 is the model development and 25 is the data aggregation. So we're obviously thinking along the same lines.
Okay, here we are at 17. Again, might be related to 23 or Carlos. Is the expectation of the proposed ML models to be able to run on edge devices using the Mystic Docker containers?
Yeah, per the description of the topic, that is preferred but not required.
I can add a bit of context since we've been working on this for the last several months since the topics were written. There are some challenges around running Docker bare on Android, and even if you were to undockerize a Mystic container, many Mystic models are written in Python. There is a Java deployment of Mystic, but that's in earlier stages. So obviously Mystic is written in the solicitation and is a technology we're very interested in because it's kind of the unit token of the Streamline ML ecosystem. But we will have to work through some considerations for how to run Mystic models on the edge, whether that be some sort of automatic translation layer or a more direct port of Mystic. So it's a challenge we're working through, but Mystic is of interest to us for 23.
I'm just pausing for a second for some ambient noise here. We're bringing this live to you from Griffiths Technology Park and Active Airfield. It sounds like one of our wide-body planes is doing some training today. Let's thank you for that answer on 17. This next one has been flagged possibly for topic 25. Is there a requirement in connecting different modalities? For example, GPS linking to an image?
It's not a requirement. That you could definitely form some interesting conclusions or some higher order products by linking together multiple modalities. So in scope for the topic, absolutely.
Okay, we're coming down to our last couple of questions here. This is number 19 for today. What is the current state of MDM solutions that are used to manage ATAK EUDs? I presume that's end user devices, right?
That have used commercial off-the-shelf mobile device managers, and then we've also seen TAK deployments that use the GOTS Watchtower mobile device manager. So, Seth, hit me with the question again.
What is the current state of MDM solutions that are used today to manage ATAK EUDs?
Yeah, I think that's the spectrum. Mature COTS and mature GOTS.
Thank you. Moving on, is there a requirement for TAK apps to allow users to define mission-specific workflows that incorporate or, quote, orchestrate the use of deployed AI/ML models?
Yeah, that's kind of a dense question. How did that start?
Do you want me to try and unpack that a little bit? Okay. Is there a requirement for TAK apps to allow users to define mission-specific workflows that incorporate or orchestrate the use of deployed AI/ML models?
Yeah, so there is Streamlined ML, for instance, has a conception of user-defined workflows. So somebody submitting to 24, joining Streamlined ML to an MDM, at the unit level, for instance, to define a custom ML workflow that makes sense for them. For instance, evaluating a couple of models, choosing the best one by some metric, and automatically deploying that to devices being provisioned just comes to the top of my head. So I would say yes, it is within scope for users to define their own operational workflows.
Yeah, and the question started out, is it a requirement? It's not a requirement of all three, but you can see how all three link together. So the requirements are tied per specific topic, but they are all absolutely related.
And to add to that, we are not in a position to say the requirements of TAK apps to or / plugins. That is a question that should be directed to the TAK Product Center.
Thank you for the context there. We appreciate that. Moving on, is there an interest in processing documents or written intelligence observed by the camera in TAK?
Yep, that's definitely in scope for 25. The camera is one of the most important sensors on the device.
Okay, one last call to those on the live stream or chat. We are down to our last question. If you have any, please try and log or document those now. But moving towards the final question we have so far, this also seems to be related to 25. Are there any cybersecurity compliance requirements between the server and end user communications?
I'm going to have to be vague, unfortunately. It's a consideration that we're obviously tracking, but I think the specific requirements are going to come down to the particulars of the proposed solution. And whatever hosting mechanisms and dissemination and communication pipelines are selected for the performer. So yes, it's a consideration, but the particulars are going to be implementation dependent.
Great. At this time, we will leave the streams and chats available open for just a few more minutes, but we'll, at this time, wind down our live panel interactions. We'll capture any recorded questions over the next few minutes and make sure we get those answered in today during that period of time for today. I want to thank everyone for participating. This has been an excellent Ask Me Anything around machine learning topics and open SIBR calls and some of the work related to TAK. We appreciate everyone's insight and interest. And at this point, if anyone's here in the house would like to give a round of applause to our panelists, we'd appreciate that. And we will wind down our video segment. Thank you all. Well, yes, please, Denise, a concluding comment.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you to everyone that participated today and for everybody pulling this together. One of the things, and we did talk about the difference in the topics because there were some issues with the DCIP site and so on. Yes, there are currently some issues with the DCIP site, so please be, very vigilant when you're, reading those topics, that you're reading the current, up-to-date ones. The BAA is out there. Pre-release closes today. Open closes tomorrow, and it will. Actually, proposals are due no later than 18 November. So please note that you have a month to get things done. Actually, I'm sorry, it opens tomorrow, closes the 18th of, 29 days. I said that completely wrong. October, and then you have time to propose. So please have a great day, and thanks again for everything. Appreciate everyone.